Have you ever touched a man in a way that didn't simply cause a physical reaction, but made him feel understood on a deeper level? I'm not referring to brief excitement, quick contact, or the usual sigh when everything ends. I'm talking about the kind of pleasure that leaves him staring at the ceiling afterward, both puzzled and thankful, as if you've awakened something inside him he never realized was there. Most women have never seen this side of a man, and most men rarely talk about it because society teaches that male pleasure is straightforward, shallow, and always under control. But that belief is misleading. There is a place on his body that is hardly ever mentioned, a point so connected to his deepest instincts that Carl Jung might have described it as a bridge between his shadow and his hidden feminine side. When it is approached with the right rhythm, energy, and intention, this place doesn't simply lead him to an orgasm. Instead, it gives him a powerful moment of self-awareness, an encounter with a part of himself he may have never experienced before. Schools don't teach this, and pornography can't explain it either, because porn focuses on performance instead of depth. Yet Carl Jung reminded us that the parts of ourselves we push away often end up influencing us the most. For many men, vulnerability is one of those hidden areas. This specific pleasure point is not only physically sensitive, it is also psychologically guarded. It represents the meeting place between pleasure and surrender is something the male ego is often trained to resist. I will eventually reveal where it is, but not just yet. Sharing it too early would cause you to miss the deeper message behind it. Pleasure without trust is simply a sensation, but pleasure that grows from trust becomes something transformative. Think about this for a moment. How often is a man truly allowed to receive without needing to perform, lead, or stay in control? From a Jungian viewpoint, this is the moment when his animus steps back, allowing his deeper unconscious self to emerge. And that experience, rare as it may be, can be deeply meaningful. Now here is the part that may completely reshape the way you understand intimacy. When you activate this hidden area, you move beyond his usual pathways of arousal. His experience of orgasm shifts from something he actively performs to something he consciously allows. That difference matters because when a man allows, he begins to truly feel. And when he feels, he forms a connection, not through manipulation, but through a response his nervous system cannot easily dismiss. Imagine this moment. You are with him, and you have already touched him in familiar ways. His breathing becomes deeper, and his eyes remain fixed on yours. Instead of rushing forward, you slow your pace. Your touch stays just outside the place he anticipates. You breathe along with him, gently matching his exhale. You allow the anticipation to build until his body quietly longs for more. This is the stage of build-up, where tension rises through both his mind and his muscles. Then you pause. By pulling back slightly, you delay the release. You allow him to experience the desire before fulfilling it. In Jungian terms, it is like engaging with his shadow, approaching the part of him that fears losing control while showing that surrender can be safe. The real insight is simple. Safety itself can become pleasure. Yes, this area contains a high concentration of nerve endings and connects directly to the prostate, often called the male G-spot. But the nerves explain only part of the experience. The other half is emotional. In that moment, you are reaching the side of him that quietly wishes to be seen without the constant pressure to appear strong. When done correctly, the orgasm does not feel like a sharp peak. Instead, it feels more like a release. Defenses soften, breathing becomes unsteady, and his hands hold onto you as if you are the one steady point in his moment of intensity. What makes this experience memorable is that he connects it with you. Not with the technique and not with the spot itself, but with you. In that moment, you are more than a partner. You become the person who witnesses a side of him that few others ever see. However, there is an important condition. Rushing this experience weakens its impact. Treating it as a simple trick can make him feel objectified. Approaching it without the right emotional foundation may lead to hesitation or resistance. The real key is not only in your hands, it lies in your presence and the energy you bring. The first step is understanding what this place represents to him before you even attempt to touch it. So consider this question: if you had the chance to give a man an experience that feels less like an ending and more like a discovery, would you take it? Once you understand where this spot is and how to gently awaken it, intimacy may never feel quite the same again. The area is called the perineum, the stretch of skin located between the base of his testicles and his anus. On the surface, it appears to be just another part of anatomy. However, beneath that skin lies a dense network of nerve endings that connect directly to the prostate, often referred to as the male G-spot. Here is something most anatomy books rarely mention. From a Jungian perspective, the perineum can be viewed as a threshold. It sits near the base of the body, where the root chakra is associated with survival, and just below the sacral center, which relates to pleasure, intimacy, and creativity. In that sense, it symbolically represents the line between control and surrender. That is what gives it such significance. Many men overlook it, many women avoid it, and very few people ever explore its full potential. When you touch this area with the right balance of confidence and care, signals travel up his spine and move past his usual control patterns. He cannot simply think his way out of the sensation. His body begins to respond on its own. His ego, what Carl Jung might describe as the persona, steps aside, allowing his more natural and unfiltered self to appear. This is not about pressing or poking as if you are activating a switch. Instead, think of it as learning a language. Begin from a distance, the inner thighs, the hip bones, the lower edges of the back. Breathe along with him and allow him to feel your presence surrounding the area. Avoid rushing the process. Your intention is to awaken the edges of his awareness, building what could be called psychological arousal. His mind slowly begins to anticipate something, even if he cannot fully explain why. When you finally reach the perineum, move with patience and care. Use the flat surface of your fingers, your palms, or even the pads of your thumbs. Apply steady pressure, firm enough to communicate your presence, yet gentle enough to allow his body to relax into the sensation. Let your movements follow the rhythm of his breathing, creating a calm and natural flow between your touch and his response. Sink slightly with each exhale, then ease back during each inhale. This rhythm gradually builds trust because his body begins to recognize your intention. As a result, his nervous system feels safe enough to relax and open further. Now combine this with stimulation in other areas, the shaft, the head, his chest, or even the tone of your voice. Carl Jung often spoke about the union of opposites, masculine and feminine, control and surrender. When the perineum is stimulated along with more familiar sources of pleasure, these opposites begin to meet and work together. His mind becomes uncertain about whether to lead or simply follow, so it gradually chooses surrender. You may notice clear signs: deeper breathing, slight shivers moving through his legs, or his hands gripping the sheets. If he twitches, lets out a soft sound, or pauses for a moment, remain steady. This is the stage where the wave is building. Rushing at this point might intensify the sensation quickly, but it can also prevent the deeper release from forming. Think of it like pulling back a bow. The tension increases until it can no longer be held, and then it finally releases. Some men, when reaching orgasm in this way, experience a full body response. It is not limited to pelvic contractions. Instead, it can feel like a flowing wave that travels from the base of the spine all the way to the top of the head. Sometimes this response appears as uncontrollable shaking, other times it shows up as complete stillness. Carl Jung might describe such a moment as a numinous experience, a direct encounter with something beyond the ordinary sense of self. Because you helped guide him into this state, you become part of that moment. Not simply as someone providing pleasure, but as someone who helped lead him towards something meaningful and deeply personal. Here lies the paradox. The more you concentrate on helping him feel safe and secure, the more memorable you become. You become unforgettable because no one else can easily recreate the exact combination of skill, presence, and emotional openness that you offered in that moment. This is why caution matters. Once this part of him is awakened, the experience cannot simply be reversed. He may seek that feeling again, and he may seek you as well. Yet technique alone will not keep his attention. Presence is what truly matters. Hesitation will be noticeable, and a purely physical approach might be enjoyed in the moment but easily forgotten. Curiosity, confidence, and genuine emotional warmth, however, tend to leave a lasting mark. When a man experiences orgasm through perineum stimulation, especially when it is combined with other forms of touch, he is not only releasing physical tension. In many ways, he is also letting go of emotional defenses. At that point, his unconscious mind becomes more open. That is when the lasting impression forms. Your voice, your gaze, and your touch can settle into his memory, quietly returning during ordinary moments while he showers, drives to work, or pauses in silence. The perineum is only the physical key. What you are truly unlocking is a part of his inner psychology that very few people ever reach. And once you hold that key, an important question follows: how will you use it? You have guided him beyond simple physical sensation into a state where his nervous system fully relaxes and surrenders. He may be trembling, speechless, or holding onto you as if he fears the moment might disappear. Most people misunderstand this moment. The orgasm is not the final point, it is the doorway. Carl Jung emphasized that after a numinous experience, integration becomes essential. The insight or connection must settle into the deeper layers of the self. Leaving too quickly, breaking eye contact, or pulling away can interrupt this process. Instead, remain present. Keep your touch not as someone seeking more pleasure, but as a witness to the space he has entered. Rest your hand gently on his chest, breathe in rhythm with him, and offer words that acknowledge both the experience and the person behind it. Simple phrases can have a strong effect, such as, "I appreciate how genuine you are with me," or "You're safe here." These small moments help the experience settle into something meaningful rather than fleeting. In this state, his defenses are lowered, oxytocin begins to flow through his system, and his brain starts forming a bond with you, whether he is fully aware of it or not. This is the moment where the experience can become truly memorable. Carl Jung might describe this as the transcendent function, where opposing forces come together and find balance. Within him, strength and vulnerability, dominance and surrender, desire and trust begin to merge. Your role is simply to hold space for both sides without judgment. Gently stroke his hair, but avoid reigniting the intensity of the moment. Allow the silence between you to feel meaningful rather than empty. In that quiet moment, he is not simply recovering. He is beginning to redefine what intimacy means to him. The more you help ground him in that space, the more it becomes his new reference point. Here is a truth that is rarely discussed. Once a man experiences this level of connection, anything less may feel incomplete. Not because of a clever technique, but because you allowed him to see who he can be in your presence. That is the real source of attraction. He does not only desire you, he begins to desire the version of himself that appears when he is with you. To deepen this bond even further, you can introduce what I call emotional anchors. Phrases that gently connect his sense of release with your presence can deepen the experience. They should not feel manipulative or rehearsed, only intentional. For example, "I appreciate how naturally you connect with me," or "You feel remarkable when you're simply being yourself." These are the kinds of thoughts that return to him later when he is alone. They become subtle, almost invisible threads that quietly draw his attention back to you. And this is where the deeper fascination begins. It is not about possessing him. It is about allowing him a sense of freedom. The woman who can offer freedom while still inspiring desire is the one he finds difficult to forget. From a Jungian viewpoint, you have reached both his shadow and his anima, acknowledged them, and in doing so shown him a feeling of inner completeness. Do you realize how rare this truly is? Most people never experience something like this in their entire lives, especially not through another person. That is why it goes beyond simple physical intimacy. The connection moves past the body and becomes something deeper. It can act as a gateway to psychological change. In many ways, it becomes a quiet ritual where he lets go of his armor and steps into a more honest version of himself. If you are able to guide him to that place and support him there, you do more than create a memorable moment. You become part of his internal world. He may think of you not only in moments of desire, but also during times when he feels lost, proud, or even lonely. You become the reference point for what it feels like to be fully present in his body while also feeling safe within himself. But before stepping into this role, it is worth asking yourself an honest question: are you prepared for the reality of becoming unforgettable? Not because of what you did, but because of the transformation you inspired. Once you step into that space, there is no easy way to return to the old dynamic. Interestingly, even this physical connection is not the deepest source of pleasure a man can experience. Yes, it is often overlooked, yet it has the ability to reshape how he understands intimacy, drawing him toward more than just your physical presence. It draws him toward who you are and the energy you bring. Still, there is another dimension to consider, one that does not require physical touch at all. In Jungian terms, it exists deep within the unconscious, hidden beneath layers of persona, shadow, and instinct. It is the place where his deepest desires and fears meet, where love and longing combine into something that can feel almost spiritual. Most people never reach this level because they search in the wrong place. They assume that more technique, novelty, or intensity will lead them there. In reality, this kind of connection is not created by doing more, it is created by helping him feel more. Once you understand how to access it, you can create sensations that remain long after intimacy ends. A deep emotional high can stay in his chest and subtly influence everything around him. At this stage, intimacy stops being just a physical interaction and becomes an experience that truly affects him. However, before reaching this point, it is important to understand what prevents it. Certain defenses keep this part of him closed. Recognizing the right words, the right timing, and the right emotional tone allows you to move beyond his conscious mind and communicate with that hidden part of him. When you connect with that inner self, every touch gains greater meaning, every glance carries more energy, and each moment together becomes far more memorable. The impact of that experience is not something he easily forgets. In the next video, I will explain exactly how to locate this hidden pleasure point, not on his body, but within his mind. You will also learn how to combine it with the perineum to create a powerful feedback loop between mental and physical pleasure, strong enough to leave a lasting impression. However, a word of caution is important. Once you understand this process, there is no simple way to return to what came before. And once it is applied, the effect can be difficult to reverse. So ask yourself an honest question: do you only want to give him pleasure, or do you want to reshape the way he experiences connection with every woman after you? If your answer is the second option, then what I will share next becomes essential to understand.